here. If y'all want to approach, I signed an order to seal the autopsy photos that I did not allow for appellate purposes. So I have a copy of these are the ones where we had the motion. We put all the ones that we chose, I either ruled were inadmissible, the state chose not to put in. I went ahead and signed an order sealing them for appellate purposes only, so they can't be reviewed,
Okay.
except by the appellate court. So if anybody for any reason wants them, well, lawyers, is what I'm saying is you're gonna have to do an order to have them seal them.
Okay.
For appellate purposes, they'll go to the appeals. But if for any reason someone wants to look at them for this proceeding, for any reason, or any further proceeding, I have to do an order to unseal them.
We're good for this proceeding.
Okay. So the reason I had to come back a little bit early was to go over the draft instructions that the state prepared for me and the verdict forms. Defense, I believe that you and your client have looked over the verdict form. Any objection to the verdict forms?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to give these are the originals, there's only one copy, so if you're looking for a copy, you don't have one, because I have the only copy.
No.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure you are.
The final instructions, I don't know where I put it.
All right, you take a moment and see if you can find them there.
I do have,
All right, you have them?
yes.
This is their objections to the final instructions. I gave you the order on the preliminary instructions, these are the objections to the final instructions. All right, on the final instructions, it looks like they went ahead and put in the mitigation that you've requested. It appears to be, at this point, 31 separate mitigators. And they did it the way I asked. They either put defendant or Matos, his whole name.
Yeah, I went through it.
All right, do you see, other than the objections that you've raised previously, do you have any additional objections to the instructions?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, so these are the instructions. I'm going to go ahead and read. At this point, I find that, and it's a matter, we did the JOA argument at the bench, and so I did find that there is sufficient testimony and evidence to get the two aggravators of previous conviction for another capital felony without the judgment and sentence, and the second aggravator of especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel. And so those are both in here. And then the mitigators are the age that Mr. Matos loves Tristan, dedication to Tristan, life in prison means life without the possibility of parole. Mr. Matos was raised by a single uneducated mother with a mental disability, never knew his dad, would leave him alone with his brother for extended periods of time, loves his brother, loves his mother, loves his extended family, grew up in poverty and experienced unstable home, grew up with experiencing his mother changing boyfriends, history of mental illness in the family. Have we got to that one yet?
No.
Okay. He was a slow learner. We got the asthma. The 2 weeks in South America.
That's coming.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't believe I heard anything about that. We did get the blastic, blind, and a stick, bullied. We haven't heard about Nancy Matos' rehabilitation. Yes? Oh,
She's coming.
high school, All right, at this point, we've either got them all in or you're saying they're coming, right?
I have every reason to believe.
Okay, we'll redo that. Is there anything else? I assume at this point, everything else is standard. Any objections that we haven't previously raised?
I don't think so.
Okay, so as long as, we'll do it one more time. I assume the state may have some argument about the mitigators if they don't, the rest of the witnesses don't go ahead and tie everything else up. But are your witnesses from Philadelphia ready to go?
Yes, they are next.
Okay, anything else we need to discuss before we bring the jury back up?
Were you going to talk to them about tonight or tomorrow?
I'm going to wait to see how far you get.
Okay.
I assume if all of your witnesses are ready, are done, and then at 3 o'clock we're ready for the person from out of state, then we might, at that break, I'm going to ask them if they'd like to stay, give them a 15-minute break to think about it. When they come back, they can give you the answer. So,
Well, we have 3 people right now in Philadelphia. We have 1 person who missed the flight and may be there. I don't know. Not going to be there. Okay. So we have actually 3 on this guy.
okay, I assume they're not too long.
No.
I mean, we've seen a couple of witnesses so far. They're no longer than any of the witnesses so far.
That would be a good estimate.
Okay, then, I mean, I think we did 3 in about 45 minutes this morning, so. Other than that, state anything we need to discuss?
At this time, Judge.
All right, then we'll bring the jury up. So they do that, Ms. Willoughby, can I speak to you for a moment on something else unrelated?
Yes, Judge.
All right, everybody able to get lunch? Yes. Follow my instructions? Yes. All right, excellent. Spence, call your next witness.
This time we will call Maxine Jones.
Okay, Maxine Jones. Good afternoon, Ms. Jones. You can step up to this podium right here.
Yes, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Stop right there, raise your right hand, and be sworn by my clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, please have a seat in the witness stand and speak in a loud and clear voice. You have a good voice, though. I don't think we'll have any problem with that.
I doubt it.
Spence, you may proceed.
Ma'am, would you state your name for the record, please?
I'm subpoenaed as Maxine Jones,
Right.
better known as Big Mommy to Adam and my godson, Peter.
All
My
right.
legal name is Alethea Maxine Jones.
The spelling of Alethea? Okay.
Alethea.
Ma'am, where do you live?
I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Are you currently employed outside the home?
I'm not employed, I'm retired.
And what are you retired from?
I am a retired police officer of the city of Philadelphia.
And how long were you a police officer in Philadelphia?
I was assigned in 1986. I did 20 years.
Okay. Are you married or single?
I'm married, sir.
And what does your husband do?
My husband is retired as well.
And what did he do before?
He retired a chauffeur. You know, he drove buses.
And what
Yes.
kind of buses did he drive?
Chartered buses, but he actually retired with Mart's company.
Okay. That's the regular bus line.
Regular bus line.
Right. But when he was working as driving the charter buses, did he have a regular route?
He did various casino runs for various companies.
And the casinos would be in
In New Jersey, I'm sorry.
Atlanta?
Yeah,
or
Atlantic City.
Atlantic City? Okay. Now, while he was involved in doing that, did he meet Rose Matos and her father?
Yes, he did.
Do you have any idea when that was, time-wise?
Oh, gosh. It was probably about 1988, 89.
And as a result of that, did you become friends with Rose?
Yes,
And did you meet her children?
yes.
Where were they living at that time in relation to you?
They lived roughly 3 blocks from my home.
Okay. And you would see them regularly?
Yeah, with some regularity, yes.
Okay. Would they ever spend the night with you?
Yes.
At some point, did you become a godmother to one or to both of them?
To both Peter and Adam.
Okay.
Hi, Adam.
And at that point in time when you first met, what would his age be?
Peter was about 5 and Adam about 3.
Did you notice any difficulty that Adam may have had with his speaking at that time?
When he would talk, he would have a little cough. And it was determined that he had asthma.
Okay.
He was in the hospital, a children's hospital.
And as far as your experience with him, do you know whether or not he began speaking at a normal time or a later time or anything like that?
I'm going to say a normal time. I believe Peter was the one that was slow to speak.
Okay. Now, would Adam and his mother and Peter spend holidays with you, Christmas?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm going to show you, if I may approach you.
You may.
Can you tell us what these are without showing them to anybody? Or Go ahead.
This is a picture of myself holding Adam at my home when I lived on 715 Wyoming Avenue in Philadelphia. This is a picture of Rosa and myself in my home. And this was both on the same day, relatively the same day.
I made a mistake, ma'am. Hold on. I'm referring to Defense Exhibit 3PP. You want to tell us again what that is?
This is a picture of myself. I'm holding Adam. He was about 3 years old on this picture.
Okay. And then this one is 4PP. What is that?
A picture of Rose Matos and myself in my home on the same day.
And this one is listed as 6PP. What is that?
It's a picture of me lying on the floor with my daughter on my back and Adam to the side. Let's see, he's on my left. And Peter is directly behind me. There's another picture of them on my back.
And when
And this is Christmas time.
do you recall when that was or how old anybody was?
These are all the same age. This was like the first year that I met, that they came into my life.
Okay. Do these pictures fairly and accurately represent you and Adam and you and Rose and you and the kids?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, at this time we move to admit. These are exhibits 3, 4, and 6 PP.
Any objection?
No objection.
That we so admitted is 3, defense is 3, 4, and 6 PP.
And if I may publish them at this time?
You may.
Ma'am, did you continue to maintain contact with Adam and his family as they grew?
Yes, I did. My husband and I.
And was there a point in time when Rose and the boys moved away?
Yes.
And again, do you recall when that was by any chance?
I can't say concretely, but I'm going to take a stab at it.
Okay.
We moved from 715 Wyoming in 1991 to 6762 Avenue.
Mhm.
And it was after 91. It was probably like around 92, 93 that Rosa and the boys moved to New Jersey.
Okay. Did you maintain contact with them when they were in New Jersey?
Well, we had phone contact, and we had ways to communicate and all.
Right.
I didn't run to New Jersey, to visit, but Rosa, she's the driver. She drives big trucks and everything. When her dad was living, she worked with him, so she can drive anything.
So you would see her then?
So she would come by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in this earlier period, how would you describe Adam? Well-behaved, mischievous, whatever?
I didn't have a problem with him.
Okay.
Very loving. You can't help but love him and his brother. I loved them immediately when I met them.
Mhm.
That's why I agreed to be their godmother.
Now,
And my husband, their godfather.
I'm sorry.
And my husband
Yes.
agreed to be their godfather.
Now, we'll move ahead to the year 2003. Do you recall
Yes.
what was happening, if anything, with Peter at that time?
Peter graduated from Parkland High School in 2003. I attended and my husband attended that graduation ceremony.
And was there a time with Adam as far as prom or something was concerned?
Rosa gave me a picture of Adam's prom picture, and it was in June of, June the 17th of 2000, was that 2003, I believe? The same year that Peter graduated
Okay.
from Parkland.
If I may approach. Show you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 5. Could you identify that, please?
This is a picture of Peter and Adam, but at Peter's graduation, and my husband and I standing between Peter and Adam at the graduation. We're out in the hallway. The ceremony had already taken place.
There's somebody there on the right. Do you know who that is?
This gentleman here, I don't know who he is.
Okay, just ended up.
He's just in the picture.
Okay.
And these people over here, I don't know who they are either.
And showing you Exhibit 7PP. Whoops, could you identify that, please?
This is a picture of Adam in his prom gear and some friends, I guess high school friends of his.
And do these two pictures fairly and accurately represent them as they were at that time?
I don't know the four gentlemen
But as far
here,
as Adam's
but Adam, yeah,
Okay.
sharp and dapper.
Now, moving ahead to 2006, was there a time when you experienced some health problems?
Oh, yes. In 2006, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
And when you received that diagnosis, did you call someone?
I did. I called Adam. When I was in the hospital, I called Adam.
Okay.
And let's see, I had my surgery on, it was August the 21st that I had my surgery. And I was at Einstein Hospital in Philadelphia. And so I called Adam, and when I told him that I had breast cancer, the next day, him and his mother was up at Einstein visiting with me.
And did they stay with you there for a while?
Yes, they did.
All right. Now, in 2013 or thereabouts, well, let me back up. After Tristan was born, did you have contact with Adam?
Yes.
Any idea how often? Or?
You know what? I think Adam brought Tristan by twice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say twice. Because I tried to get him to join ACN with me, this company.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was no takers there. You had to pay $500 to get started with that joker. But at any rate, it was at that time, and then on another occasion, it was around Easter, and that was in 2013. 2013. And actually, that was the last time that I saw Adam.
During those times, was he alone with Tristan?
The first time, it was him, and let's see, Peter, his brother, was living with us and his family.
Okay.
I'm not I think Peter was living with me then and my husband. So Adam came to visit. But either Peter went up there to get him, whatever.
Okay.
They were at the home.
And how would you describe Adam's relationship with Tristan?
Very, just a loving father, you know? He just would hold them and, you don't know, but very affectionate father, loving father. Which surprised me, if I could just interject, And thank God, he has a love for his son that he does. Because he could have just kicked his son to the curb and ran after every skirt out here. He's not that kind of a man, but I think the ladies would be glad to know him. Sorry, Your Honor.
And have you had any contact with him at all since he's been in for
No. I had a wave Skype with him.
Okay.
When one of the investigators came to my home, and she set that up.
And are you supportive of Adam at this point?
Yes, I am.
Okay. If I may publish these other two photographs.
And what are the numbers? Never gave the numbers.
Oh, they are 7 and 5 pp.
Okay. State any objection?
No objection.
All right, photos will come in as 5 pp and 7 pp made public.
I have no other questions.
All right. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
You mentioned that you are a retired police officer with the City of Philadelphia,
That's correct.
and you were in service for 20 years.
Yes.
And during the period of time that you came to know Adam and his family, you had been working with the City of Philadelphia, correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Matos would have had an opportunity to view you or talk to you as you were a police officer, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever have an opportunity to have any interactions with him while you were in uniform?
They saw me in my uniform.
Right.
I had to go to work.
And you were a positive role model for not only your family as it relates to the Adam Matos family, correct?
Absolutely.
And you also set a positive role model for law enforcement officers, I would imagine, correct?
That's correct.
And if Adam had any issues, he could come and talk to you about it, correct?
Definitely.
You guys had that kind of relationship.
Definitely.
And even in 2014, you still had the opportunity to have a relationship, correct?
2014.
Yes, ma'am.
I only spoke to Adam sometime after 2014
Okay.
on that wave Skype thing
I
at the
understand.
prison.
Oh,
The last time I saw him was March in 2013.
Yes, ma'am. But certainly if he wanted to call you after March of 2013, you would have answered the phone.
Was he in prison at that
No, ma'am.
time?
Before
he
this
could have
all
called me.
happened.
Yeah, he could have called me anytime. Yeah.
Right, he could have called you
My
anytime.
number has been constant.
Right.
He knows it.
So if he had issues,
Yes.
he could call you. Ma'am, you indicated that you spoke to him at least one time since his incarceration. Is that correct?
One time, yes.
And ma'am, have you had an opportunity to hear his testimony about the things that occurred in August of 2014 here in Pasco County?
Yes, I have.
All right. And as it relates to that, you're aware that the things that which he admitted to happened inside a house while Tristan was there, correct?
I heard the testimony.
Right. Were you acknowledging that he acknowledged that Tristan was present in the home at the time the murders occurred?
What I heard is that Tristan was in the home, in the bedroom, sleeping.
Okay. And ma'am, the fact that he commits these murders in a home where Tristan's there, does that affect your opinion of Mr. Matos as a loving father?
It does not affect my opinion. I'm going to say whatever the circumstance that led up to what he did, that he admitted to, you know, it is what it is. From all that I can see of Adam, he loves his son so much that he will do anything for his son as far as protection go. And I can't imagine anyone wanting to take his son from him. You know what I mean?
I understand.
I would think that, you know, if you being a father and when it comes to your child, whatever you need to do, you would probably do for your child.
Within the confines of the law, right?
Within the
ma'am?
confines of the law,
Right.
you know, and you can do anything within the law as long as you can articulate why you did it.
And you would agree with me
And
that...
he certainly articulated what I heard.
I understand, ma'am. And you would agree with me that murdering the mother of his child is not a lawful way to handle a situation with his child, correct?
I don't agree with murder. God said, "Thou shalt not kill."
I understand, ma'am. But he's admitted to that, and you understand that, correct?
I heard that.
And does that affect your opinion of him as a loving father in this case?
No, it does not.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any redirect?
Just one thing. Ma'am, when you said you talked to him on this,
That home wave thing that's set up at the
that's
prison.
why he was in jail, not in prison.
While he was
right?
in jail,
Right.
yes.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Jones, thank you very much. You may step down. Is she released from her subpoena?
Yes.
Ma'am, you're released from your subpoena, so if you'd like to remain in the courtroom, you're free to do so.
Thank you,
okay?
Your Honor.
You're welcome. Spence, call your next witness.
Nancy Matos.
All right, Nancy Major. Good afternoon, ma'am. If you want to stop right there, raise your right hand and be sworn by my clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, take your time, have a seat in the witness stand, and speak in a loud and clear voice for me. Then you may proceed.
Ma'am, for the record, state your name, please.
Nancy Matos.
And where do you live?
I live in Philadelphia,
Where in Philadelphia? Anywhere in particular? North, south, east, west?
North.
North Philly?
Yes.
Okay. And how are you related to Adam Matos?
I'm his auntie.
Rose is your sister?
Yes.
Is that correct? Right. And when they were in Philadelphia, or living in Philadelphia or New Jersey, or in and around Allentown, did you have contact?
Always.
Okay. And that would be with Adam and with Peter and Rose?
Yes.
All right. Were you aware of the residences that Rose Matos had, where she was living?
I don't understand the question.
Well, what I'm asking you is, did Rose Matos move frequently?
Yeah, she moved a couple of times, 4 times.
Okay. And at some point, were you living in Camden, New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay.
Franklinville, New Jersey.
I'm sorry?
Franklinville, New Jersey.
Franklinville, okay. Do you have any children?
Yes, I have 4.
And is one of them Crystal?
Yes.
How would you describe Adam Matos' relationship with Crystal?
They're like brothers and sisters
Were they together a lot all the time?
all the time.
And how would you describe Adam Matos during that period?
He was a funny, loving person. He always respected me, and always looked up to me.
And this would be
I
into
never
his,
had problems with him.
would this be into his teenage years?
Yes, and childhood, and childhood.
Now, at some point in time, did you develop an issue with substances?
Yes,
And as a result, were you involved in any kind of rehabilitation or treatment?
yes, I was in rehab, and my sister Rose and her 2 kids was supporting me a lot, and always try to help me
And
get
how
my
did,
life together.
how did Adam Matos support you in that?
He always gave me encouraging words, and he always used to tell me he loves me no matter what. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think I'll be clean today. Because the love they gave me, no matter what I did.
Was there a time when he came to visit you and didn't want to leave?
Yes.
What happened there?
I guess my daughter and him are like brothers and sisters, and he always was fond of me. And I guess he didn't really like that his stepdad, Antonio Polito, and he couldn't like talk to his mom sometimes, and he used to talk to me, and he wanted to live with me, and so he ran away one night. It was only for one night.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back to my apartment.
When?
In the morning.
The next day?
Yeah, he ran away, and Anthony DiPolito chased him, but he got away. And then the next morning, I was making coffee, and he was standing in my yard, and I just ran outside and grabbed him and shook him and said, "What are you doing? You were scaring me. You were out all night." And I just brought him in, gave him something to eat, and then called my sister later on that night.
Okay. How was, if you are aware, how was Adam Matos's relationship with the kids in the neighborhood? Did he get along with the kids, or?
Yeah, Adam got along with all the kids. I mean, he was bullied. When they lived in Wyoming, one of Rose's apartment where she lived, they were being bullied. African kids used to chase them home.
Mm-hmm.
They used to hit him. And when I lived in Franklinville, it was American kids chasing them home, trying to beat them up. And we had to go to the family houses and straighten it out. It was real bad. They used to bully him because he was light-skinned. He's light-skinned.
As we stand here today and sit here today, how do you feel about Adam?
I love Adam unconditional. And I'll stand by him and be there for him, do anything. I love Adam with all my heart.
Thank you, ma'am.
Cross?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I just have really 3 simple questions for you, ma'am. When Mr. Matos would visit you and you were in rehab, how old was he?
And his teenagers, I say around 13, 14.
All right, ma'am. And the same question, told us a story about when he ran away. How old was he then?
My daughter was 17, if I'm not mistaken, 16 or 17.
Thank you, ma'am. And then the last story that you were telling us about the situation where he was bullied that required you and Rose to intercede. How old was he at that point?
Oh, wow, okay. He was around, if I'm not mistaken, around 7 or 8 years old.
Right.
Around that age.
Thank you, ma'am. No further questions.
Any redirect?
No, ma'am.
All right, ma'am, you may step down. Thank you. Defense, call your next witness.
Defense will call Adriana Klaus.
All right, Adriana Klaus. All right, Ms. Klaus, you can step to the podium. Stop right there. Raise your right hand and be sworn by my clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You have a seat in the witness stand and speak in a loud and clear voice for me, okay?
Yep.
You can move your chair up just a little.
All right, sorry.
It's okay.
Which one is it?
The one right in front.
This one?
Yes,
Okay,
the
cool.
one with the blue light on it. Matt, you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor,
All
thank
right,
you.
may proceed.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Adriana Klaus, Adriana. Last name is Clauss.
Ms. Klaus, do you know Adam?
Yes,
How do you know him?
from the Browns.
You know Megan Brown
Yeah,
and Margaret Brown
yeah.
and Gregory Brown?
Mhm.
How did you know them?
They were like my second. They were like my second family.
And you said you met Adam through them?
Yeah,
When was this?
I was like 13.
Do you know around what year maybe?
No, I'm 21 now.
So maybe about 8 years ago? Where were you living when you met Adam through the Browns?
My mom's house, Best Station, in Slatington.
Okay. And what sort of, how were you introduced to Adam?
From Megan, and he was always when he came to see Tristan and babysat, and I met him at the farm, Maggie's farm.
You would visit him at, when you would visit him at Maggie's farm?
I visited Megan and Maggie, and that's how I met Adam when he was there with Tristan.
Did you have a friendship with Adam?
Yes,
How did that develop? What kind of things would you do together?
he just goofed around. I was just always with either him or Megan. Because Megan lived with me for a year, and when she wasn't there when she was working, I was with Adam because I was home a lot after school, and we just hung out.
What was his relationship like with Megan?
They're on and off. A lot.
Were you there to see how they would interact with each other?
When I was around, it didn't seem bad, but sometimes I guess they broke up.
Sometimes they broke up, that's what you said? Okay. Did you ever see Adam lose his temper with Megan?
No,
How would you describe how he seemed to you, how his demeanor was?
he was calm.
Calm? Did you ever see him get aggressive with anyone?
No,
Did you ever have an opportunity to see him with Tristan?
yeah, all the time. I lived with Tristan for a year, and I used to go to Maggie's house every day after school when he was living with them.
Would you see how he would interact with Tristan?
Yes, he was a good dad.
Why do you say that?
What was that?
Why would you say that he's a good dad?
He always, when I was there, he was always with Tristan, and he took care of him when Megan was working or Megan had to do something. Adam was always willing to go and help and take care of his son.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness with what's been pre-marked as defense 8 PP?
You may.
Adriana, do you recognize this picture? How do you recognize it?
I was there. It was taken at Maggie's farm, and he was cutting the grass.
Who's in this picture?
Tristan and Adam.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would move into evidence what's been pre-marked as defense 8PP as defense 8PP.
Any objection?
No objection,
All right, we'll come in as defenses 8PP.
Adriana, you were close with the Browns, is that right?
Yeah.
And you were close with Adam?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Adam knowing what he's been convicted of?
I'm hurt. I don't know. I love them all. I miss Maggie. I feel like she was my mom and she just taken from me. But I don't know, because he was never aggressive. I just don't know what to say.
Okay. I have no further questions. Permission to publish the photo to the jury?
You may.
Good afternoon, Ms. Klaus. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I just kind of want to make sure I have a clear understanding of the time frame we're talking about. You said you're 21 years old today, and the things for which experiences you had with the Browns and Mr. Matos happened when you were 13 years old?
Well, until they moved to Florida.
Okay.
Like that time frame.
All right, so during the time frame from when you were 13 years old till they left to go to Florida, correct?
Yes.
And you had a close relationship with the Browns? Is that correct? You gotta say yes, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Court reporter's taking this all down, so.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. And you mentioned that Adam would come and watch Tristan while Megan was at work?
Yes.
And Megan was living with you and your mother, correct?
Yes, for about a year.
All right. And it was during that time period that you would have spent some time with Mr. Matos. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And this is that when you're coming back from school in the after-school hours,
Yes.
and while Megan was at work,
Yeah, and some weekends.
and some weekends. And you indicated you never saw Mr. Matos be aggressive or violent with Megan. Is that correct?
No, sir.
It's also true to say you didn't spend every moment with them. Is that correct?
That's true.
All right. And you had an opportunity to view Mr. Matos as he would take care of Tristan while Megan was at work, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated that he was a good father.
Yes.
And you've had an opportunity to kind of learn a little bit about what this case is about, correct?
Yes.
All right, ma'am. And if I were to tell you that the things that Mr. Matos has been accused of and convicted of occurred in the house while Tristan was there, all right? Does that change your opinion of Mr. Matos as a good father if you were to learn that these things happened while he was in the house?
Yes.
Okay. And you were close with the Browns, correct?
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
And you indicated that you were so close that you felt that Miss Maggie Brown was almost like a second mother, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say you spent a lot of time with them?
Yeah, I was with them every day.
And your family raises horses along with the Browns, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. No further questions.
Any redirect? No. All right, ma'am, you may step down. Take your time, okay? Thank you. Guys, call your next witness.
Call Kiera Klaus.
Kiera Klaus. Ma'am, if you want to step to the podium for me. Stop right there, raise your right hand, please swear by God.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, ma'am, if you want to step to the witness stand and speak in a loud and clear voice for me, okay? Possibly you can move up the chair a little, just to
I'm
make
sorry.
sure that we hear your voice, okay? Thank you, ma'am. You may proceed.
All right, ma'am, would you state your name, please?
Kiera Klaus.
I'm sorry, there was,
I'm sorry, Kiera Klaus
and ma'am, where do you live?
on Best Station Road in Slatington.
It seems like somebody coughs every time you speak, so I'm trying to
Sorry.
catch up with you there.
Best Station Road in Slatington, Pennsylvania.
Slatington?
Yes.
Okay. You want to keep your voice up a little bit?
Sure. will
Maybe
try,
I can,
sorry.
maybe I can hear you then, sorry. And how long have you lived in Slatington?
About 9 years.
And Adriana is who to you?
My daughter.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I lived in Slatington, which is the border of where Maggie lived near Tripoli. So I've off and on my whole life, besides moving to Florida and then going back.
Okay. And there's been some indication you raise horses or have a farm there?
Yes.
What do you raise there?
Well, I have horses.
Okay. Did there come a time when you met Margaret Brown?
Yes.
Do you know when that might have been?
It's been a long time. My daughter's probably has a better memory than I, so I would say around when she was 13.
I'm sorry?
I would say around, I said her memory is probably better than mine, but I would say around when she was 13.
When Adriana was 13?
Correct.
Okay, okay. And how did it come about that you met?
My boyfriend at the time actually was at the feed store getting grain for the horses, and I was at work, and he actually ran into Maggie first, and we were actually looking for a horse, our first horse for my daughter. So he actually spoke to Maggie, and then she communicated to him that she had a horse. So after work, all three of us went over to see the horse, and that was when I first met Maggie. And from there, we just became very close friends. She was my best friend.
Okay. And during the course of this friendship, did you meet Megan?
Yes.
And how would you describe your relationship with Megan?
Megan and I became very close as well. You can say, like my daughter, she looked at Maggie as her second mom. She would actually get dropped off from the bus there instead of our house. We became close with the whole family, as well as Adam.
And was there a time when Megan became pregnant?
When I met her, she already had Tristan.
Tristan had already been born?
Correct.
Oh, okay, okay. So you
He
became
was
acquainted with Tristan from birth too then?
He was a toddler, yeah, he was very young. I can't remember exactly how old he was.
At some point, was there a time when you met Adam Matos?
Yeah, I believe he may have been living with them at the time. I have to think back. But he was there often with Tristan.
And at some point, did Megan live with you?
Yes.
And the $64,000 question, you know when that was?
To be honest, no. I know it's probably a couple of years before they moved to Florida. She was with me for about a year. I don't exactly remember the year though. I'm sorry.
And during that
Tristan was a
time,
little older though.
I'm sorry?
Tristan was a little older by the time.
Did Adam move in with you too, or not?
No.
Would you see him at your house?
Yeah, very often. Yes.
And what would he do when he was coming to your house?
He was always visiting Tristan.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, he was always visiting Tristan.
And would he babysit Tristan?
Yes.
And under what circumstances would that be?
Whether Megan had to go to work or if she went out to do something else.
And during that time, was she dating someone else?
Honestly don't know, possibly. I can't remember.
Was there ever a time when she came home with a date when Adam was there?
At my house, no.
Okay.
Not that I know.
And Megan, you said lived with you?
For approximately about a year.
Okay. Now, during that time, did you meet any of Adam's family?
Yes.
Who did you meet?
His mom, which I became very close with her as well.
At some point, did you assume any role with Adam's mother, Rose, an official role?
Actually, yes. She, at some point, she communicated to me that she was having some issues as she had a rep payee. So she had asked
I'm
me.
sorry.
Okay.
I got it. She communicated you because she had it, and I lost you there.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to talk right into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
It's very difficult.
If you can repeat that part.
Sure.
Okay.
She had asked me, she had communicated to me that she had some issues with her current rep payee, representative payee.
And what is a representative payee?
When you financially are not able to take care of your finances, I guess.
So someone is appointed to take
Correct.
care of the finances?
Yes. She had asked me if I was willing to become her rep payee, representative payee.
Probably better if you say the whole words, that
Sorry.
way we'll be able to follow you. So did you assume that position?
I did.
As a result of that relationship of becoming a representative payee, are you then given or know of the documentation and reasons why someone is a representative payee?
Yes.
Sure. Approach. Ma'am, give us a moment. All right, I'll give you an opportunity to narrow down the time frame, okay?
So the question is, when was it that you became representative payee for Rose Matos?
To be honest, I can't remember the year. I can, if I have a break, call my bank and find out, to be honest. It was, I honestly could not tell you. I mean, it was.
Well, let me ask you this. When did you meet Rose? Was it after Tristan was born?
Oh, yes. I did not know the Brown family. When I met the Brown family, Tristan was already born.
Okay. And it was after that that you assumed this role, is that correct?
Yes, it was even after Megan had lived with me.
So if you can guess, maybe this will help. How old was Tristan at that point? We all seem to be better with kids' age than anything else.
Closer to, I would say, between 1 and 2 years old, maybe.
1 and 2 years old?
Right, when I met him, he was younger than that, maybe like 6 months, so around that.
So he was 1 or 2 years old, is it?
Off the top of my head, I would think, yes. It was later in
Okay. And if he moved to Florida when he was 4 years old, that would mean
That
it
would
was
be-
about 2 years before they moved. Does that
I believe so.
make sense? Okay.
I would believe so.
And why did Ms. Matos have a representative payee?
The paperwork that she showed me and explained to me, she was diagnosed with MR.
We're objecting as to relevance.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Diagnosed as what?
With MR,
What is that?
mental retardation.
You're getting, hold on 1 second. Ma'am, you have a bad habit of like starting and then moving your head.
I know, I
You
apologize.
just keep your head straight. So she was diagnosed with mental retardation, is that what you said?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, go
It's
ahead.
the documentation that she showed me from a physician and Social Security.
That was Social Security, you said?
I believe it was a Social Security letter that she showed me that stated that.
Now, up until this point, I believe you may have already said this, I'm sorry. What was Adam's relationship with Tristan?
I guess first word that comes to my head, beautiful. He was always great with Tristan. He was always playing with him. And being a dad, he was always available. He was always willing to help. And I'll stay with him.
Now, if I may approach.
Okay?
Let me show you what's been marked. There's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 PP. Have you seen these?
I'm not sure, have we seen these, are you already admitted or?
No, they haven't been admitted. We're 8, so you definitely haven't seen this. Can you show
I thought, okay, I'm sorry.
show the state?
Thought ahead.
Yeah.
You ready? Now, do you recognize those?
Adam and Tristan. Adam and Tristan. Adam and Tristan.
No, nobody could hear a word you just said.
I'm sorry, Adam with Tristan.
Okay.
All the pictures, Adam and Tristan.
Do you know where that is?
It looks like the Lehigh River, I believe. I'm not positive, but it looks like the Lehigh River.
Is that a park?
Lehigh.
River.
The Lehigh River. It's the locals. Sometimes we go swimming there.
Okay. And do they fairly and accurately represent Adam and Tristan?
Yes.
At this time, we move to the please.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Defendants 10 through 15 PP will be admitted and you can publish.
Now, ma'am, when you said that Megan was living with you, you said for about a year,
Yes.
and at some point she moved out, she wasn't there anymore?
Correct.
Now, during these times, we've heard descriptions that between Megan and Adam, the relationship was on and off and on and off. Is that correct?
Yes.
After she moved out, what was your relationship with Adam?
She would still come to my house and bring Tristan. And then she would oftentimes ask Adam to come visit Tristan at my house.
Okay. Did your relationship with Adam change?
At one point, yes.
And how would you describe your relationship with him at that point?
We became a little bit more than friends.
I'm sorry?
We became a little bit more than friends.
More than friends?
Yes.
Some call it dating, some call it something else?
Yes.
All right. And how would you say you treated Adam during that time period?
To be honest, I wasn't always the nicest person. I was a director of a human service agency, and I was often stressed, working many hours and on call 24/7. So I wasn't always the nicest person.
Would you say you treated him badly?
Yes, at times.
And how did he respond when that happened?
He was always just, I guess the word, mellow. He was always mellow, calm.
Okay, that's all I have.
Klaus?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Do you recall, I want to make sure that the timeline of the events we're talking about is consistent. So you met the Browns when your daughter was 13,
About, yes.
so that was been about 8 years ago?
Yes.
Sound about right?
It sounds about right, yes.
Okay. And first you met Margaret Brown?
Correct.
That was your first introduction to the family?
Yes.
And you developed a close relationship with Margaret Brown, correct?
Her and the family all together, actually.
Okay. But she was the first one you kind of met?
Correct.
And through her, you became good friends with Greg?
Correct.
And good friends with Megan?
Yes.
And such good friends with Megan that you opened up your home to let her in, correct?
Yes.
And when you met her, she had already had Tristan, correct?
Correct.
And you had an opportunity to observe her as a parent, correct?
Correct. She was also a parent as well.
Okay, ma'am. She worked,
Yes.
and she took care of her kids, correct? And at the times when she was working and she needed help, Mr. Matos would come in and help, correct?
Yes, correct.
And he would have opportunity to spend time with you and your daughter, correct?
Yes.
But she only lived with you for about a year,
Yes.
and then she moved out, correct?
Correct.
And it's during this period of time after Megan moves out that you begin to have a different relationship, we'll just call it with Miss Rose Matos, correct?
Yes.
All right. You take on a fiduciary relationship with her, correct? Is that a yes?
A what relationship?
You were placed in a position of trust over her, correct?
Correct.
But that's after Megan already moved out, correct?
Correct, yes.
Tristan's already been born, right?
Yeah, he's been born before, yes.
And this all happens within 2 years of them moving to the state of Florida, right?
Yes.
And nothing about your relationship with Rose Matos has anything to do with the Browns, is that right?
Not the relationship I had with her, no.
Right. Do
Correct.
you still have that position today?
No.
All right. But this payee relationship, how long did it last?
A little over a year, I believe.
All right. And everything you learned about that came by way of Rose Matos, correct? She
Everything
approached
I know
you.
about, she approached, in conversation, she was explaining and expressing that she was having issues as far as with her current representative payee, as far as paying bills and things like that. So then, in speaking with her, she had stated she needed help, and I was willing to help her.
Right. Exactly. You're helping her out.
Right.
She asks you, she gives you information, you help her out, right?
Basically.
Okay. And that relationship ended prior to the Browns coming to the state of Florida?
The relationship as far as what?
The payee. I don't know. I don't know how the way to say it, ma'am. The fact that you were the
representative
payee.
Yes. I didn't know if you meant our friendship as well, or...
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But this position over Miss Rose, that ended before the Browns came to Florida, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And that whole in all that dealings with Miss Rose Matos has nothing to do with your relationship with Megan Brown, Gregory Brown, or Maggie Brown.
No, I loved all of them. I mean, me being a representative paid for someone who had nothing to do with the Brown family, no.
One moment, Your Honor.
All right.
All right, ma'am. You had the opportunity to observe Mr. Matos with Tristan in the past, correct?
Correct.
And based on your prior interactions with him and observations, you indicated that he was a good father, correct?
Correct.
Have you had an opportunity to hear the testimony of Mr. Matos as to the things he admitted to in this case?
To be honest, I was close to both sides. I guess you could say. I actually have not heard anything of anything. I've heard bits and pieces here and there. I mean, obviously, I know the gist of it all.
I understand. Well, let me ask you this question.
I have not
like
been
this.
following.
I
TV or
understand.
whatever.
Difficult spot that you're in. I get it. But my question to you is that if I were to tell you that Mr. Matos had admitted to the murders of Gregory Brown, Megan Brown, and Margaret Brown, and another individual, Nicholas Leonard, who you don't know, and he were admitted to doing all these things in the home while Tristan was there. If you were to know that and he admitted that, does that change your opinion as to what kind of father he is?
Something like that should not have been done, period.
I understand.
The way a father treats his son, that's one thing.
Does it change
If
your
someone-
opinion, ma'am?
If he's a good father, it's difficult for me to answer because, I mean, he should not have done, if Tristan's in the home, that would appall me. I just can't believe that that would happen, so it would appall me as for him. I can't even imagine him doing that with Tristan in the home.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any regret?
Just wanted to clarify, ma'am, when you took over as representative payee of Rose, and you've told us what the reason was, that information came from,
I believe it was a letter from Social Security. It was a document from, sorry, my memory's not. It was a document from, I believe, Social Security office stating that she was diagnosed with mental retardation and she needed a representative payee because she was not able to handle her finances.
and that it was not something that she told you?
No, I seen the letter.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
then I would have to apply for it, which I did through Social Security Administration.
Okay, thank you.
All right, ma'am, you may step down. Defense, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the defense would call Peter Matos.
Okay. Sir, if you step up to the podium right there. Raise your right hand, be sworn by my clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, sir, please have a seat in the witness stand and speak in a loud and clear voice for me. You may proceed.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Peter DeJesus. It's Peter. DeJesus is Dejesus.
And Peter, do you know Adam Matos?
I do.
How do you know him?
He's my brother.
Were you raised with Adam
Yes, I was.
by Rose Matos?
Yes,
Wait,
Thought you wouldn't have the problem if you're starting to go down. You're not just talking to her, you're talking to everybody, okay?
ma'am. Right.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
just make sure you speak in a loud, clear voice into the microphone, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. What was your relationship like with your brother growing up?
It's just like any other siblings that you grow up with. We got into mischief. We played together, told each other, normal things that kids tell each other growing up.
We've heard some testimony that you and your mother and your brother, you moved around a lot as kids. Can you talk about approximately how many times you remember moving when you were a child?
I would say at least nearly a dozen times.
Why would you move from place to place?
To have more chances to get nourished by the education system and people around us.
Did you ever move because your mother was in relationships with different people?
A couple times, yes.
Did you guys have a lot of money growing up?
No. We were, I guess some would say, poor.
There was actually a point in time, wasn't there, where you were living in your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, maybe around when that was?
I would say that was at least when I was around 12 or 13. We were living in Reading. We had gotten into an altercation with my uncle, and he had kicked us out of his house, and we were going to school out in Reading, so we were staying in our car for a few winter nights.
And how old would your brother have been at that point in time?
About 11, 10.
We've heard some testimony about Adam and you getting bullied as you were growing up. Can you talk a little bit about that, some incidents that you might remember?
Well, I guess, it happens, often, whether you live in a town for so many years or just a couple of years. But yes, it happened quite frequently from school to school, either due to racism or just being the new kids in the school.
You said either due to racism or being the new kids in school.
Correct.
Was the bullying ever physical? Were you ever hit or punched, anything like that?
Yes.
At one point in time, I think your mother and you and your brother, you lived with a doctor, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you remember his name?
It's Anthony DePolito.
And how long did you live with Anthony DePolito?
We had lived with him for at least, I want to say, 6 years maybe.
What was your relationship like with Mr. DePolito?
It wasn't very common like, say, stepdad or stepson. It was just more or less an acquaintance-like relationship.
Did he ever have any issues with your mother? Did you ever see any physical violence between them?
I remember them arguing many times about their relationship and I guess cheating on her.
Was there a point in time while you were living with Mr. DePolito that you actually went and lived somewhere else?
Yes, I had lived with my father for 2 instances, a year, I guess, time frame each.
Do you know about how old you were when that happened?
I want to say maybe 11.
Now, when you say your father, you don't share a father with Adam, is that right?
And that's correct.
When did you first develop a relationship with your dad?
It was around that time, around 11. I had just met him at the time and spent a year with him and his family here in Florida.
When you went to live with your father, did Adam come with you?
No, he did not.
Did he develop any kind of relationship with your dad?
No, not really.
When you moved back, had anything changed in your relationship with Adam?
It seemed like he was a little bit more distant, a little bit more standoffish in a way, I guess you could say. We weren't communicating like we had before I had left and spent some time with my father.
Is that something that continued forward in your lives?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. I think there was an incident where I think you might have been around 7 or 8 years old. Your brother was around 5 or 6. There was a problem between your mother and your grandfather. Do you remember that incident?
I do.
Can you tell us about that?
I remember my grandfather attacking my mother and my brother and I coming to her aid and trying to stop the altercation.
And did you physically get involved in that altercation?
I believe I had jumped on his back and my brother had attached himself to his ankle.
Your brother attached himself to your grandfather's ankle?
Correct.
When you and Adam were young, did your mother ever leave you alone in the house?
Yes.
How often?
Well, she was a single mother, so when she couldn't find someone to babysit us, she would leave us sometimes for short bouts of time. And then there was an instance in New Jersey where she had left for a couple weeks.
Around how old were you when your mother left for a few weeks?
I would say like 12.
So how old was Adam at that point in time?
I would say 10.
And so during that time, you as a 12-year-old were in charge of watching your 10-year-old brother?
That's correct.
Was that something that that was normal in your lives for you to basically take charge of your brother's care?
Yes and no, yes.
Okay. And when you say that your mother left you alone, was that even earlier than when you were 12 or 10?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you maintained a relationship with your brother since, as you've grown, even if you've grown apart?
Yes, through phone conversation or when I had lived in Pennsylvania for a short time before moving to California.
And you actually have a family of your own now, is that right?
That's correct.
establish the witness with what's been previously marked as defense 9 PP?
You may.
Peter, I'm showing you what's been previously marked as defense 9 PP. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recognize this photograph?
This is a picture between me, my family, myself, my wife, Maria, my daughter, Rosabella, my son, Eli, and my second daughter, Bethany, and my mother.
How many, is anyone missing from this picture from your family?
Yes, ma'am. That's not a completely recent picture, so that would be Julian, my youngest son.
So you have 4 children, is that right?
That's correct.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would offer in evidence what's been pre-marked as defense exhibit 9 PP, as defense 9 PP.
Any objection?
No objection.
Please so admitted.
The people pictured in this photograph do they have any knowledge of your brother?
They do.
Has your brother had any contact with your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this, because you know why you're here today, correct?
That's correct.
You know your brother's been convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Knowing that, how do you feel about your brother today?
It's a bit shocking to know what he's being accused of and been charged with.
Do you still love and support your brother?
I do.
Going forward from today, would you continue to love and support your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
Will he still continue to have a relationship with you and your family through visits?
Yes, ma'am.
And right now you're living in California, is that right?
I'm actually living in Washington.
In Washington. And just to clarify, because I'm not sure if we discussed it, back when your mother left for 2 weeks when you and Adam were young, do you know where she went to?
I believe she went to South America or El Salvador. I can't recall which.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to publish the photo to the jury?
You may.
No further questions.
Cross?
Good afternoon, Mr. DeJesus. How much older are you than Adam?
About 1.5 years.
So if, as far as grade courses back when you were in elementary school, if you were in 2nd grade, he would have been in 1st grade. You're 1 grade level apart?
I think we were a couple of grade levels apart.
Okay, so 2 grade levels apart?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you detailed a situation where your mother left you, I think you said you were 12 years old, correct? And Adam was 10?
Yes, that sounds correct.
I'm talking about the trip that you indicated that she left the country.
Yes, sir.
And you were left alone in the house?
Yes.
You had each other though, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were able to take care of him during that period of time, right?
That's correct.
And he was able to help take care of you if you needed it, right?
Yes, sir.
Was that a scary time to be left alone like that?
Scary, not so much. Uneasy, a little.
Uneasy? A little bit of uncertainty as to what's going on?
And that's correct.
All right. Mr. DeJesus, as you sit here today, you have, you served in the military, correct?
That's correct.
And which branch did you serve in?
Air Force.
And how long did you serve in the Air Force?
6 years active duty and still in reserves.
All right. And currently you are employed?
Yes, sir.
From the looks of it, you have a very beautiful family and a beautiful home, correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And what do you do for a living?
I am a medical equipment technician.
All right. And are those some of the skills that you learned through the military?
Some of the skills, troubleshooting, mechanical, electrical, things of that nature.
And you've been able to provide for your family and yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No redirect.
All right, sir, you may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Defense, call your next witness.
May we approach?
Kind of long break. while you're on break, I need you to think about a few things. We're moving along very quickly. I'm told that our last 3 witnesses will not be available till 3 o'clock. And the reason they're not available is because they're going to come to us via Skype. Getting into the 21st century, we're going to do some Skyping here. That's ready to be set up at 3 o'clock. So they're going to be where they're going to be at 3, and we're going to have them here on the screen live so we can do the rest of it. When that is done, my understanding is that the defense is going to rest. So we're talking right around 3:30, 3:45. After that, both sides will be allowed to do closing arguments. That's probably another hour and 45 minutes. We're getting close to 6 o'clock. The instructions in this case will probably take me about 15 or 20 minutes to read, and then you would go back to deliberate. So your choice is either finish up today with closing arguments, go home, come back tomorrow, and I'll instruct you at that time, and then you begin to deliberate. Or to go ahead and go in and start deliberations tonight. You are a first-degree murder, death penalty qualified jury. That means once you begin to deliberate, I cannot let you go home. I would have to put you up in a hotel if you cannot reach a verdict. I'm told, and that, that's up to you all to talk about. I will keep you here as late as you want it. So, I'm not saying we go at 7 or 8. If you guys want to stay till 9 or 10, we're here for you. If you all want to decide, I do not have to sequester you if I do not charge you. So if you go home tonight and come back tomorrow and I charge you, then you have all that time. But that's up to you. You kind of heard what is entailed and what your decision making is going to be when you get back there. So if you all want to talk among yourselves on whether you want to stay and finish up tonight or whether you want to go home, please, you can talk about that. Not about what your verdict's going to be or what the evidence is, but you're more than welcome to talk among yourselves. You kind of seem like a close-knit group now. You all have had an opportunity to kind of get together and speak. So you're going to have a half an hour break. So we're going to have you back down in the jury pool room at 3 to bring you back up. So between now and then, if you want to talk among yourselves, whatever the decision of the group is fine with me. I'm available for both. Either choice is fine with me and the court reporters and everybody here. So we're going to leave it up to you. You are the ones that have been most affected by having to be here for 3 weeks, so I'll leave it up to you all. So at this time, you'll be in recess down in the jury pool room at 3 o'clock. And other than talking about whether you want to stay till you finish tonight, they'll talk about the case, okay? All right, we'll be in recess until 3 o'clock. If I can see Mr. Billings and Mr. Labruzzo off the record on an unrelated matter.
Hi, can you hear and see us okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Please stand by.
Sorry?
Okay.
No, there should be someone over there to swear them. Okay. Is there someone over there to swear them, or do you want my clerk to swear them? You don't know?
I don't know if they have anybody there.
Okay. What do you want to step up to the microphone and sit?
Does anybody over there who can swear them in? We thought there was somebody named Laura. Do you have anybody else in there in the room with you?
She's in the office right about now.
Okay.
If you need her,
Yeah, let's, if we can.
okay, give me a second.
Yeah, I'm just gonna testify.
Only to me.
Can be a group effort.
Yeah.
You ready? Bring him in. Bring the jury in.
All jurors present, see Your Honor.
All right, was everybody able to get a nice long break? Yes?
Yes.
As soon as we finish with these witnesses that are on live, I'll go over that question that I asked you, okay? Defense, call your next witness.
All three were in the room.
I know, we're gonna work on that.
Okay.
Who do you want to call first?
Hector Mottos.
Okay, is Hector Mottos there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Mr. Matos, I'm going to have you testify. If the other two individuals can just step out of the room for a moment, we'll have you testify one by one, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Matos, can you raise your right hand? I'm going to have the clerk swear you in here. Madam Clerk, if you can swear the witness.
Yes, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. You put your hand down, and then I think you're going to have to come up here and just kind of be standing, kind of looking at the jury, and then kind of looking, and then he can see it. Mr. Matos, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Can you see me, Mr. Matos?
Yes, I can.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the record?
My name is Hector Mottos. Hector is H-E-C-T-O-R.
Same last name, M-A-T-O-S?
M-A-T-O-S, yes.
Mr. Matos, where are you speaking to us from?
I really don't know this place that well. My lady brought me here. I'm not too familiar with this place. I know it's on Orfield,
What state are you in right now, Mr. Matos?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania? Do you know Adam
Yes.
Matos?
Yes, that's my nephew.
Did you have any interaction with your nephew Adam while he was growing up?
Oh, yes, plenty of times.
Did he ever live with you?
Yes, at one time he lived with me when his mother had a little trouble staying, getting her own place and stuff like that. And, yeah, he was no trouble to me.
What kind of child was Adam?
Adam, he was a fun little child, man. I've seen him many times on Christmases, and there's a lot of occasions I can't, recall because my memory is almost half dead anyways, but knowing the memory of Adam, I can't forget because I really was really close to Adam. I used to play with him when he was little.
Would you describe Adam as having some slowness as a child?
Well, he reminds me of his son.
Okay. Did he speak late? Do you remember whether he was a late talker?
Well, he didn't talk much, so I didn't really get too much of that, but other than his actions, he was always funny to me.
He was always funny to you, is that what you said?
Yeah, because I remember when his younger years, when he was little, like 2 or 3 years old, I remember how the way he was, But, about his talking, no, I never had really put mind to that.
Okay. Did you keep in contact with Adam as he grew up?
Oh yeah, off and on, we'll see each other. Sometimes I go down and see his mother and see him and then Peter. And, I've seen a lot of good times about Adams and I've seen his bad times. So I don't, the most thing I know that he was always respectful to me, so that I know.
Did you ever see him act in an aggressive or provoking kind of way?
Never.
Now, I know you said that he did live with you for a short time. Were you familiar with the fact that Adam and his brother Peter moved around a lot as children?
Well, because of the situation, it was very hard for the girls at that time to settle down. I don't speak about personal things because I don't know, but I know that she moved from one place to another. But other than when they came to my house, they will always be welcome in my house, and I always loved Adam and Peter, regardless of the differences of the disputes or differences of the argument. But I never really will see Adam as an aggressive person.
Did you have an opportunity to continue a relationship with Adam as he grew up into an adult?
Yes, there was a few times when he was going to some kind of a place to be a model, for photo, and some about music. And I was always encouraging him. I said, Adam, I'm proud of you. He made a CD of some kind of song, and I said, wow, that's nice. And I always looked it up to him, for a little guy like him at that time, trying to do something in this world, That's all I can say from there.
When you talk about him making a CD, is that while he was working on trying to be a DJ?
Yes, at that time, yes.
Did you ever have an opportunity to see Adam with Tristan? Did you ever meet Tristan?
I met him probably 3 times. One time at the funeral, then when my brother, I think it was my brother Herman or Danny, I think it was Herman, I don't remember which one, at the funeral I met her one time. She was so calm and sitting down there, on the chair, and I said hello. We didn't talk much. She didn't talk much anyway, but she seemed real calm, That's the first time I think I met her.
Are you talking about Megan?
Yes.
Okay. Did you become familiar at one point in time? Adam told you that he was planning on moving down to Florida with Megan and her family?
I don't really recall that, but I think I remember hearing some about them moving to Florida. And I wasn't agreeing for him to go. I wanted him to stay.
Okay.
Because so much of, the things that happened to my brother over there, and I just didn't trust Florida.
Okay. And we don't need to go into that, but that's okay. Is it fair to say that you've on and off maintained contact with Adam through his life?
Yes, off and on, yes. I usually be in and out, whenever chance I get to see him, I see him. And sometimes we don't cross, sometimes we do. I mean, he was very busy with this girl. He was always with her and stuff like that.
Is it fair to say that there... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Is it fair to say that due to the way that he and his family moved around, there were points in time where you lost contact with him as well?
Well, I knew where they were, but we wasn't contacting each other at the time, because of her moving around. And also, I have my own personal life going through my own deal in my own life, so, it was not easy for me to just go ahead and visit all the time that I wanted to.
You know why we're here today. I believe you had the opportunity to watch some of the trial, is that right?
Yes, I see the whole thing.
And you know that Adam's been convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder, correct?
Yes.
Given what you know and what you viewed, how do you feel about Adam today?
I don't feel no difference.
I
still feel that the way I feel he's a good person to me.
Do you still support him?
I will support him to the end.
Do you continue to love him and support him going forward?
Yes.
And have contact with him?
Yes, I will.
If I could just have one moment, Your Honor.
You may.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. State Klaus.
Can we approach?
You may. Sir, give us a moment, okay? We'll be right back with you.
It's okay.
State, do you have any questions for this witness?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, sir, we have a few more questions for you, okay?
Okay.
There you go.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well. Just have a few questions for you. You explained that you had some interactions with Mr. Matos when he was a minor, correct? When he was young.
Yes.
In those interactions, it would have been with Mr. Matos his brother Peter DeJesus, and his mother Rose, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Matos, can I ask, what did you do? What do you do for a living, or what did you do for a living?
I don't do anything for a living. I'm in disability.
Have you always been in disability?
Say what?
Have you always been in disability?
Well, I had an accident in 1984.
Okay.
I was about 21 years old.
All right.
And ever since that time, I've been on that.
All right.
It was issued by the state that because I've been damaged, I had head trauma on the accident, and going in the tree by 80 miles per hour, and it was kind of lost memory and stuff like that.
Okay.
And yes.
All right. One moment, Your Honor.
You may.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect? No, Your Honor. All right, Mr. Matos, thank you very much, sir. Who are we calling next?
Diane Matos.
All right, you can step out and have Diane Matos sit in your chair. That'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, Adam.
Hello, Ms. Matos, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, ma'am, I'm going to have you stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn by my clerk, okay?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you may be seated. Spence, if you want to inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Diane Matos, Matos.
And Ms. Matos, how do you know Adam Matos?
Hector is my husband, and that's his nephew.
When did you first meet Adam?
About 5 years ago.
And how many times would you say that you've had an opportunity to have any contact with Adam?
A lot of times, because we're up there a lot. He was over our place a lot.
And when you came into contact with Adam, how was your interaction with him?
He was always polite, respectful, everything. He was nice to be around, very quiet.
Did you ever have an opportunity to observe him with his son Tristan?
Yes.
How did you have that opportunity?
He would come over with Tristan and stuff like that, and Tristan would watch TV and he would be interacting with him and everything, and they would come over a couple times.
And of what you saw, how would you describe his interaction with Tristan as a father?
Very good. He loved his son. It was you could tell that he really loved his son.
If I could just have one moment, Your Honor.
You may.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Give us a second, ma'am. State any crimes.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
You've indicated that you've known Mr. Adam Matos for 5 years?
Yes.
And of that 5 years, he's been in custody in Florida for 3 of them, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so your time spent with him were the 2 years prior to him coming to Florida?
Yes.
And you indicated that you spent a couple of times, you had a chance to observe him with Tristan, is that correct?
Yes.
And during those times, he would come over to the house and they would watch TV with you, is that correct?
Yes.
You said, your husband testified earlier that he had an opportunity to watch some of this trial. Did you have an opportunity to hear the testimony of Mr. Matos?
Yes.
So you're aware that Mr. Matos, Adam that is, has admitted to the murder of 4 individuals in a house where Tristan was present, correct?
Yes.
Knowing that Tristan was present in the house at the time of the murders, does that change your opinion as to what kind of father Mr. Matos is?
No, because I really don't believe that Tristan was right there. That's my own opinion, though.
Okay.
Because he never let Tristan out of his sight, and I don't think he would let him see him like that.
All right. You don't think he would allow Tristan to see the things that occurred in that house?
That
Are you aware the testimony has it that Tristan remained in the house for a number of days after this occurred?
that's what I hear.
All right. Does that change your opinion as to what kind of father he was?
No, the way I saw him with his son, I feel that he was a good father, and I don't feel that the son was really around or something. I just don't believe that, because he loved his son. He will let him see him that way.
Okay. You realize that the victims in this case were family members who would have taken care of him in Mr. Matos' absence. So Adam Matos was the only person inside the house to take care of Tristan. During this time period where there is all the things that Mr. Matos has been convicted of doing, again, does that change your opinion at all as to what kind of father he was?
I still think he was a good father. That's what I think. For what I've seen, I think he's a good father, for what I have seen.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Matos, thank you very much. If you can, who's the last witness?
James Ingram.
Can you step out and have Mr. Ingram come in?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ingram, before you sit down, sir, I'm going to have you sworn in. Can you raise your right hand, please, sir?
Yes.
I'm going to have my clerk swear you. Go ahead.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, sir, you can have a seat. Fence, if you want to inquire.
Yes, sir. Would you state your name, please?
James Ingram.
And where do you live?
I live in Orfield, Pennsylvania.
And I guess, Mr. Ingram, I should ask you to spell your last name.
Ingram.
Now, sir, do you know Adam Matos?
Yes, I do.
How is it that you came to know him, and how do you know him?
I've known him since about middle school.
We
went together.
You were in school together?
Yes.
And did you remain friends throughout your school history?
Yes, we did.
After high school, what was Adam doing, do you know?
He was working jobs on and off. Doing what a normal, single young man would do.
Did there come a time when you shared a house together?
Yes, there was.
And about when was that?
That might have been around 2007, 2008. Can't remember exactly.
And during the time that you knew him after high school, did Adam attend another school?
Yeah, he went to the Audio Institute and Research or something like that up in New York.
And was that in New York City?
I think it was in the city area, yes.
Okay. And for anybody who doesn't know, was this in Orfield where he was living? Or where you guys were living?
At the time when we were living together?
Yeah.
No, we were living in Emmaus together at the time.
And where is Emmaus in relation to Philadelphia?
It's a good hour and a half north of it.
And where is Emmaus in relation to New York City?
About the same, maybe a little more.
And if you know, how was he getting to Manhattan from Emmaus?
You would have to go to Easton, which is close to New Jersey border. And from there, he would take, I think, a bus he would take up.
And that's how he would get to school?
Yep, he would have to get to a bus terminal, I believe, and he would take the bus there and the bus back.
Did he, as far as you know, complete this school?
Yes, I believe he did.
Okay. Did there come a time when he met Megan Brown?
Yes.
How do you know about that? What happened there?
I know they hung out together a few times here and there, and they just started kind of seeing each other then a little steadier than normal.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, then she became pregnant, so I got to know her a little more too then.
And as far as Adam Matos is concerned, how would you describe his general demeanor?
Very happy-go-lucky guy. He's laid back. He's a fun guy. Just wants to have a good time. He's been a good friend. He's just a laid-back, average young man.
Did you have occasion to see him with Tristan?
Yes.
How often do you think you saw that?
Several times. He's been to my house with Tristan already and slept over with him.
And how would you say his relationship with Tristan was while you saw him there?
Very good. Very good. He was very attentive to him. I let him sleep in one of my rooms, and he kind of took him in there to watch movies with him instead of, hanging out with, some of his friends.
Okay.
So.
And you have kids of your own?
Yes.
Did you talk to Adam at all about being a father, about what was involved, or how he was going to be?
A little bit here and there. We talked about it, and I just told him, you gotta stay adamant about trying to find a job, and it's a life-changing deal now.
And what did he say about that? What was his approach to that?
He said, he knew what he had to do. He had to find work, and part of going to school was part of that. He was really trying to pursue getting involved in the entertainment and DJ business.
Okay. Were you aware of the plan to move to Florida?
Yes.
How did you find that out? What happened?
He had told me about it one night that I guess the Brown family knew somebody that had a rental down there, that they all were going to move down there.
And was he excited about that?
Yeah, he seemed in good spirits. He had a plan for when he went down there. He was going to get a job bartending because he had previously bartended before. He seemed pretty happy for it, to go.
And did that have anything to do with starting a family or continuing the family?
It might have. I think he wanted to. He wanted to be as close to his son as he could, and he really wanted to, provide for him the best he could.
Once they arrived in Florida, did you have further contact with him?
Yes, I did.
Did you have any contact with him? Let me back up a second. What is your occupation?
HVAC technician.
What does HVAC mean?
Heating, ventilation, air conditioning.
And did you talk to Adam Matos about an air conditioning issue?
Yes, I did.
Tell me about that. What happened?
He had called me one day and had said that the AC unit wasn't working in the house. And he was up in the attic, I believe, looking at it. And he said there's a drain pan that hangs underneath the unit. And the point of that is to catch any leak in water that might come out.
So was that malfunctioning or something?
Right. So there was something, likely the drain for the condensation from the AC was backed up. And usually they put a safety sensor in the drain pan, so as soon as water hits the sensor, it turns off so it doesn't, flood and damage the ceiling or anything.
So did you talk him through how to fix it?
Yes, I did.
And as far as you know, was he able to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had contact with him since he's been arrested?
Yes, I have.
And is it your intent to maintain contact with him?
Yes, it is.
Have you been attempting to support him at all?
Yes.
How's that? How do you do that? I mean, what can you do at this point?
I send him some money here and there when I can. I talk to him, about some of our friends that we grew up with. I try to kind of keep him in the loop of how life's going and stuff. I send him some pictures when I can.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I have nothing else.
You may. Klaus?
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Mr. Ingram. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
All right, Mr. Ingram, your number back in September 2014 was 610-504-0276?
That's correct.
Okay. And in fact, this defendant made phone contact with you on September 4th, 2014, around 11 o'clock at night when he was fleeing from law enforcement?
Objection, Your Honor. Beyond the scope. Irrelevant.
You're the one who brought up that he had continued to have contact with him, so overruled. Go ahead.
Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And you asked him how he was doing, and he said he was fine, right?
He didn't say he was fine or anything. He said he was going to ask them how it was going, what's going on, and, he said he had to go. That was about it. We had a very brief conversation.
He didn't mention anything about what had just transpired over the past week here in Hudson, Florida?
No.
Now, I think you described him as being very attentive to Tristan. Have you been following the testimony in this case?
Somewhat, yes.
So you're aware then that Mr. Matos killed Tristan's mother and Tristan's grandparents while Tristan was in the same house with them, right?
That's what I've heard, yes.
You'd agree with me that that's not very attentive, right?
I'm not sure how you want me to agree with you.
Well, all right. Let's, how about following killing 4 people in the house? You're aware that Mr. Matos left 4 bodies with Tristan in the house while he went and had some beers with the neighbor. Were you aware of that?
I think I did hear that, yes.
You'd agree with me that that's not very attentive, right?
No.
You're aware that the following day, Mr. Matos, once again, while there's 4 bodies, including the body of Tristan's mother and the body of Tristan's grandparents in the house, that Mr. Matos again went and had some drinks with the neighbors and also went to Walmart to buy a shovel, probably taking up to 2 to 3 hours. You agree with me that's not very attentive, right?
I'm not totally aware of everything that happened there.
Okay, I understand, but you would agree with me if those were the facts that that would not be very attentive. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, and you're aware that the next day, Saturday, sometime between 8:30 and 9:30 in the morning, the defendant left Tristan again in the house, smelling of death with 4 bodies in it, to go get Megan's vehicle. Are you aware of that?
I'm not too aware of that part in particular.
And I understand. I'm sure you weren't aware of all the facts of the case, but you would agree with me that that's not attentive, right?
It wouldn't be, I don't think.
And moving on again to the next day, Sunday, again with the smell of death in a house where this defendant had killed 3 family members of Tristan and another person, that Mr. Matos again left Tristan in the residence for hours while he went next door to drink beer with the neighbors. Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
You would agree with me that that's also not very attentive, right?
Yes.
And then again the following day, Monday, during the middle of the day, this defendant left for approximately an hour while he and the neighbor went to Wells Fargo, leaving Tristan in the house that smelled of the death of Tristan's 3 family members and another person. You'd agree with me that that's not very attentive, is it?
I wasn't aware of that, but yes, I would agree it's not very attentive.
All right, and yet again, the following day, September 2nd, again, the house smelling of death, and because of the deaths of Tristan's 3 family members, that this defendant again went out for half an hour to an hour with the neighbor to a store, shopping in the middle of the day. You agree with me that without Tristan, that that's not very attentive, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then again, the following day, so September 3rd, a Wednesday, that this defendant went out in the evening hours for 3 hours, drinking with the neighbor at a bar down the street, leaving Tristan in the house by himself with the smell of death. You'd agree with me that's not very attentive, right?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Yes.
I understand, and this is none of this is your fault, so I'm not trying to...
Objection, testify.
Okay, sustain.
But Mr. Ingram, you'd agree with me that basically we've gone over 5 to 6 days of periods of time when possibly some of the most traumatic points in Tristan's life where we agree that this defendant wasn't very attentive, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you described this defendant as happy-go-lucky and laid back. You remember doing that?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that coming down and greeting somebody with 9 hammer blows to the head when they arrive home from work, that's not very laid back, is it?
No, it's not very laid back.
Okay. And I think you did testify already that you've continued to be there for this defendant and be supportive of him over the past 3 years since this has happened?
Yes.
And it's fair to say that even before that, you would have been supportive of this defendant if he reached out to you and needed assistance or needed encouragement. Is that fair?
Yes.
And that whatever this defendant was going through or has gone through, that you would attempt to help him and be supportive of him. Is that fair?
Yes, I would.
He could have always turned to you, and he could still always turn to you, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. May I have a moment, Judge?
Okay.
I don't have any more questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ingram, thank you very much. Are we done with the people from Skype?
Yes.
All right, we're done. Thank you all very much. All right, do you all want to approach? All right, defense, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the defense raise.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are done with the testimony part. We have closing arguments left, and then jury instructions, and of course your decision. So my question to you is, what would you like to do? Did you all get together and talk? Do you want me to talk to the jury foreperson, who is the foreperson? Mr. Foreperson, what was your decision as a jury?
We would like to start deliberations tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay? Well, at the bench, I spoke to the lawyers. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually rest at this point, send you home tonight. We'll have you come back at 9:30 tomorrow. They're going to do closing arguments, then I'll do jury instructions, and you'll begin to deliberate. It's not going to cause that much difference, but that gives them an opportunity to look at their notes and be prepared for closing arguments. Any objection from either side of that?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so if you all want to go ahead and leave your notes right there, and I'll release you at this time. Go home, or you remain under sequestration, no talking about, no, the rules. No talking about it, no discussing it. I know we've rested, but we haven't done closing, so you can't talk to each other about the case yet until you get back tomorrow. But you get to go home, okay? And so we'll have you back downstairs at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and when we're brought up, we'll finish up with everything, okay? All right, thank you all. Have a nice evening. You too. You get to go home when it's light out. Stop. Okay. Why don't we, since we have a little time here, go ahead and talk about the jury instructions, and then as soon as we're done that, then we'll be done for the evening also. So, State, you wanted to talk about the mitigating circumstances, is that correct?
Well, before we get there, I had mentioned the other day a statement explaining previously convicted of another capital felony. I prepared a statement. You read it to the court, but I've also shown it to the defense. It's my explanation, or what I would like to include in the instruction.
Okay. All right, defense, did you receive a copy?
That's the only copy I printed out, but I did show it to Mr. Livermore, and I showed it to him again.
It says, I'll just read it. It says, Adam Matos has been convicted of 4 counts of murder in the first degree from the events on August 28, 2014. A, quote, previous conviction for a capital felony, unquote, can include multiple capital felony convictions arising from a single incident. Defense?
Well, that's one of the objections, motions that we filed for constitutionality. I understand that's what the status of the law is.
Correct. So this would be a correct statement of the law, although you object to it being an aggravator.
That's correct.
I'm trying to get the wording right so you're objecting. So you're objecting to the aggravator of whole, but you would agree that this is a correct statement of the law.
That is correct.
Okay, so I will allow that in the instructions on, I don't know where you want to put it.
I would, Judge, I'd ask to place it right after the statement where it says, the crime of murder in the first degree is a capital felony.
You mean after Aggravating factors alleged by the state are, number one, Adam Matos was previously convicted of another capital felony, period. The crime of murder in the first degree is a capital felony, period, and then put this statement.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, that's fine if you want to put it there. Okay, so anything else that you want to add? State?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and then defense, anything else that we hadn't previously discussed and is on the record?
No.
All right, so with the question is, we've gone over the aggravating factors, the mitigating circumstances that have been listed are, one, the age of the defendant at the time of the crime is 28. I don't have it, I think that exists, there's been testimony to that, correct?
I believe so.
All right, and then Adam Matos loves Tristan more than anything in the world. Somebody testified to that, so that's good. Adam Matos' dedication to Tristan is the only reason he came to Florida and ended up in this situation. I think the defendant testified to that, so that's okay. Life in prison means life without the possibility of parole. I'm going to tell them that anyway, and I think I've already told them that a couple of times. Adam Matos was raised by a single, uneducated mother with a mental disability. That's been testified to.
Judge, I don't think anyone testified to her level of education, or really to, I would say, it was, her mental disability.
We got a consensus over there? You kind of...
No, as a consensus, has to be uneducated part.
Okay, defense?
I didn't understand what he just said.
He just said that no one testified to the fact that she was uneducated. Guess you could reopen your case. I don't even know what uneducated means. 5th grade, 9th grade, less than college?
We'll agree to take out uneducated.
Okay, so it'll be Adam Matos was raised by a single mother with a mental disability. Adam Matos never knew his father. That's okay. Adam Matos' mom would leave him alone with his brother for an extended period of time when they were preteens. His brother testified to that. The love of Adam Matos' brother, mother, and extended family, I think that's all been testified to. Adam Matos grew up in poverty, experiencing an unstable home with frequent moves. I think his brother testified to that. Adam Matos grew up experiencing his mother's frequently changing boyfriends. State?
I don't recall any specific testimony other than the doctor.
There was testimony about different boyfriends and moving and
There was testimony that she had boyfriends, and there was testimony that they moved. But I don't know if there was testimony that she grew up experiencing his mother's frequently changing boyfriends. Matter of fact, it sounded like she was with the doctor for quite a while. I don't know. State?
If the defense wants it in.
We'll leave it in.
Yeah.
We'll leave it in.
We're okay with it.
History of mental illness in the family of Adam Matos. That one, I don't, that one's out? Okay. Adam Matos was a slow learner in school. Yes, no?
I
don't recall any of that. Adam Matos did not begin speak until he was 5 years old. I think there's actually testimony exact opposite of that.
that's true.
Okay, so we'll take that one out. He suffered from extreme asthma, which required emergency room treatments. Definitely that was testified to. He frequently put her boyfriends ahead of her sons.
I heard new testimony about that shit.
Other than the South America trip.
They never said she went with her boyfriend. She either went to South America or Paraguay, but the brother didn't testify who she went with.
That's fine.
It's up to you guys. It depends.
We would ask that it be
Huh?
We would ask that it be out. I don't think there was any
Okay. The South American trip was definitely there. That's
Right.
next. Mother took a 2-week vacation to South America. That's in. Adam Matos suffered an extreme beating when he was a young child with a plastic blinds and sticks. That was testified to. Adam Matos was bullied as a child because he was too tall and fair-skinned in an all-black neighborhood. I'm not sure they actually said, they said he was bullied, but I don't.
Right, that's correct.
So do you want just that he was bullied?
Yes.
Okay.
So what part am I taking out?
Adam Matos was bullied as a child. That part is in, the rest of it's out. She actually said he was bullied because of racism, but I didn't understand who was racist, so. Adam Matos was a huge support in helping Nancy Matos through rehabilitation for a substance addiction. Okay? Adam Matos graduated from high school. We got that. I think the last witness testified to that. He graduated from disc jockey school by commuting every day. That was testified to by the last witness.
The only thing I'd say about that, Judge, is I don't recall anything regarding him being motivated by the desire to financially support his son in that context.
I believe that's what Mr. Ingram was testifying to.
That's the way I took it, that he went to disc jockey school to try to get a better life so he could provide for his son. Adam Matos endured the uncertainty of whether he was the father of Tristan. I don't know any, we have any of that.
Any testimony about that?
It might have come out in the first phase. That he would certainly.
I know that he testified that they gave Tristan's last name was the boyfriend, but I don't remember him saying that he endured any uncertainty. It's the wording of the. I mean, it sounds to me like every single person testified he knew he was the father from the get-go. He went to school to try to better himself. He was there when he was a baby. He was this and he was that. I didn't hear any testimony that he endured anything worrying about that he was the father. I know that he did testify that she gave Tristan the last name of her boyfriend, and then they did a blood test, and he was found to be the father. So if that's what you mean by that, that's fine. I'll leave it in. His courtroom demeanor, that'll be in.
Yeah, Judge, on 24, can we just remove the part as a result of statements by Megan Brown? Because I don't recall any testimony of anything that Megan Brown said one way or the other.
Okay. That's fine. Adam Matos endured the uncertainty of whether he was the father of Tristan, period, as a result of statements of Megan Brown. We'll take that part out.
Okay.
All right. Adam Matos tried to work to support Tristan and pay rent while in Florida by walking long distance up to 4 miles to work as a dishwasher until Miss Austin helped him buy a bicycle. That's in.
No objection of it.
Adam Matos shows potential for rehabilitation.
Judge, I didn't hear any testimony regarding that.
All right, that's out. Adam Matos shows gratitude and thankfulness. I think someone testified to that. Adam Matos accepted that his son was named after Megan's boyfriend. Didn't hear anything about that.
We'll refer to the defense on that one.
So they want it in, we'll leave it in. You want it in?
No, we did.
Okay. Adam Matos is always respectful and polite. That's been testified to. And the existence of any other factors in Adam Matos' character, background, or life, or the circumstances of the offense that would mitigate against the imposition of the death penalty. You definitely want that one. Okay? So, other than that, is there anything else that we need to change about the instruction?
Judge, one thing I'd point out is that the single defendant, multiple count instruction, we kind of changed it up to try to make it fit.
Okay, let's see, that would be at the back here.
case, I think it's case, it starts with the defendant in this case is convicted of 4 counts of murder in the first degree.
Okay, I got it right there in the middle. Give me a second. All right, so right now it says the defendant in this case has been convicted of 4 counts of murder in the first degree, and although they have been tried together, each count and the evidence applicable to it must be considered separately. Your decision as to one count must not affect your decision as to the other crime charged. I don't know if you want to put in there, defense, your decision as to sentence, as to the sentence on one count must not affect your sentence as to the other crimes charged. Do you want to put that in there? So it would read, your decision as to the sentence on one count must not affect your sentence as to the other crimes charged. Or it could be as to the other counts.
Must not affect your decision as to the other sentence.
The other sentence on the other count. I got you. So it would say, your decision as to the sentence on one count must not affect your decision as to the sentence on the other counts with an S. Is that what you want? Okay. Did you get that? Do you want me to reread it?
Yes, please.
Okay, the last sentence will read, your decision as to the sentence on. Got it?
Yep.
One count must not affect your decision as to the sentence on the other counts with an S.
Sure. Got it.
All right, anything else?
Nothing there.
And we talked about it the other day, each side, do you think you can live within an hour on closings?
Yes.
Yes.
That says yes, state says yes. So again, I'm not going to cut you off, I'm not going to say sit down, I'm just going to remind you it's an hour until you can wrap it up, okay? I doubt either one of you will use that, maybe close, but you didn't use it in closing the first time, so it just kind of gives you a basis by which you're going to do it. Other than that, is there anything else we need to talk about? Mr. Matos is going to come dressed as he is today, tomorrow, yes? Mr. Matos, everything, you're happy with their presentation today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you don't have any problem being in your prison garb, for lack of a better term, today?
No, ma'am.
And you'll be dressed like that tomorrow. You okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. State, anything else?
No, Judge.
All right, defense, we're good?
Actually, Judge,
Oh,
I did want to address.
no matter how many times I ask, I have to ask one more time.
Regardless of what happens tomorrow, does the court have any opinion regarding hearing victim impact evidence from the next of kin, particularly those who have traveled to be here? Obviously, if the sentence is life, I expect the court will do sentencing tomorrow, and it would be appropriate time. But if there is a different decision, what is the court's pleasure with regard to hearing from the victims or the next of kin?
All right, defense, what's your position?
And again, we're talking about outside the presence of the jury.
I
once
understand.
that's done. Okay.
Our position would be,
especially in light of the fact that the state would be agreeing to do victim impact out of the hearing of the jury, that it should all be done at the suspension hearing.
So you do not wish to have me hear the victim impact while the family is here when they've flown down?
We understand the point.
I'm sorry?
We understand they went to the government, they're not be able to make it down in the future. We're okay with that.
Okay, so you're okay if they're not able to make it back for the Spencer hearing, you're okay for me hearing victim impact tomorrow outside the presence of the jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what I'll do is no matter which way it goes tomorrow, I will go ahead and hear from the victim's family who will be present tomorrow, who would not be able to come back for a Spencer hearing if that's what we need to have. Again, if it's light, I'll probably go ahead and sentence him tomorrow. But if it comes back the other way, then I do have to have a Spencer hearing. I'm not sure the Spencer hearing is as great a necessity as it used to be, but I don't want to skip the process.
No,
So-
because you can still override.
Right, exactly. But I mean, it's more on your side than their side, if that makes sense. Either way, I'll hear victim impact for any family members that can't come back one way or another. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, Judge.
Anything else?
No, Judge.
All right, we'll be in recess till tomorrow at 9:30.